All right, welcome to A Clinical Approach to Momming, the podcast. I am Brielle Dobie, founder of Mom Smart Info. And the main objective of this podcast is to bring science-backed strategies to you, the audience, mostly moms, to help you mom better. I also started a new category of this podcast highlighting super moms, where we have frank discussions about various mom topics. And today, though, I have the pleasure to introduce Heather Sweeney, who is a super mom, but brings an expertise on mindset and mental fitness that we can all benefit from. Just a reminder, if you find these podcasts valuable, please like, subscribe, and most importantly, share, and I will greatly appreciate it. So, Heather, please, and also stay tuned until the end because Heather will be sharing some real action steps that you can start now to help improve your well-being. So as I said, Heather is a mental fitness coach. She's also a registered nurse, an inspirational speaker, and storyteller. She specializes in coaching parents, entrepreneurs, first responders, and healthcare workers. So I'm personally excited to absorb everything she has to share since I fit under all of those categories. Heather has experienced firsthand the power of shifting your mindset to make positive, forward progress, both professionally and personally. She believes that anything is possible when we put our minds to it. As a mental fitness coach, Heather helps individuals reduce mental fatigue, overwhelm, stress, and anxiety by teaching them tools and techniques to proactively use each day. This leaves them feeling empowered and back in control. Heather resides in New Hampshire. She is a board member with Legacy Trust of Southern New Hampshire Health, dedicated to improving the health and well-being of those in her community, regardless of socioeconomic status. Heather is an eternal optimist, avid fundraiser, traveler, and lover of all things adventurous and outdoors, which I'll be really excited to talk to you about. She recently summited Mount Kilimanjaro as a member of the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society's Climb to Cure program, giving back over $40,000 to LLS, and will be visiting Peru to climb in 2023. She loves coaching in the outdoors and leading groups through adventures and experiences. So Heather, welcome. I'm so excited to hear everything that you have to say. I love the expertise that you bring on mindset. Before we get started, though, I'd love to hear about, your mom life, your family, and your kids, and then we can jump into the other stuff.
Of course. Yeah. Thank you for having me, Brielle. I'm happy to be here. And I have two kiddos. They're 8 and 9. They're 13 months apart. So
oh my gosh.
I was actually having a conversation with somebody before we were chatting here, and she has two kids about the same age apart, but they're much younger still. And I was like reminiscing back to those days of you just get through it. And some days I don't know how, but we do. That's what we do as moms. So I have a son and a daughter. I live here in New Hampshire. I love getting outside. I really actually have learned through doing and formed this belief, which there's science behind, that moving our body helps to move our mind. And I do some of my best processing and thinking and working through mom situations while I'm moving my body in any way you could imagine. So really happy to be here to just share with your audience, hopefully some action items, some key takeaways that they can start to use right away to help experience just a little bit more calm in the chaos that often comes with being a mom. I was divorced about 4.5, almost 5 years ago. So I went into a space with a 4 and a 5-year-old of being kind of on my own and really experiencing a lot of change. And that's where my journey began, to rediscover, who am I? What is it that I want in this life? And really flexing my mental muscle to begin to shift how my own mind was set. And that is how I came to this place of loving to get to see people, what I call just wake up, that light bulb go off.
Yeah.
With coaching or conversation or just a friend that I'm talking with.
Yeah.
Because we really all are capable of so much more than I think we could even imagine in our own mind. I think we're really limited by our mind and how far it let us go, to often protect us. But I believe we can do way more than we imagine. And I love to get to guide people on that path.
Yeah. And I think what you said, there was a couple of things you said that I just wanted to highlight. You do your best thinking and planning, like for your life and for mom life when you're moving. And it's so funny because I had said to my friend the other day, I said, why is it when I'm like taking a walk, all of these things just start flowing into my head and I have all these amazing ideas, and you like really can start imagining actually doing it. And so it's so interesting you said that, because I experienced that too, but it never really clicked why, or, you know, it was happening. Like I noticed that it was happening, but it never really clicked why. So, you know, is there a specific reason that happens? Does that happen for most people?
So I think it's a very common thing. A lot of times what I'll hear, and this happens to me too, so maybe it happens to you, is when I'm in the shower, it's like, all these ideas just come to me. I actually had a girlfriend who was thinking of launching a notepad that went like a waterproof notepad, and it probably exists somewhere in the world.
Yeah.
I remember thinking,
that idea though.
She didn't do it, but yeah. So I think, what's happening is, if we think about our nature, let's just say as a mom, as a human, right? We're constantly moving. We're constantly doing for others. Our mind is going at 1,000,000 miles an hour. And as we're moving, as we're doing, as we're moving at a rapid pace, and our mind is going constantly, right? We're also gathering information through experiences, conversations, interactions, what have you. And until we take that time to step away from all of that and maybe get out and take a walk and just sort of be, right?
Yeah.
All that noise behind, until we get in the shower, when hopefully we don't have our child yelling, "Mommy, did you?" What happened, right? But until we get those moments, right? Because that's what they are often, those moments in time of slowing down. Our brain just isn't able to make those connections, right?
Yeah.
It's a different space. But when we have the moments of slowing down, it allows our brain to take all of that information we've been collecting to start making connections, and that creativity starts to spin and produce and come to the surface. So it does make sense to me when I think through it that way, right? It's like, if you're in the middle of a tornado, how could you possibly have a creative idea or put things together, right?
Right.
But when you step out of that and sort of look at everything from a different view, a more calm place, you can start to connect the dots.
And so this is a topic I had on our list to talk about later, but I think it really makes sense that I think a lot of times as moms, we think we don't have time to get out and take a walk. We don't have time to stop and slow down.
Yep.
And I think sometimes that's true. I know there's days that if I needed to find a free minute, I really couldn't. But I think that a lot of the days there is time that I could even find 5 minutes, but we're so distracted by so many things. Technology, everyone's guilty of it. I'll go on TikTok maybe to film something like for my own content, and then an hour later I'm still scrolling through, and so then I'm later on saying, man, I had no time today to even get out, take a walk, take the baby for a walk. Yes, I did. I had time. So
I think the first thing, and this is me being me and direct, right? And this is often my coaching style.
Yeah.
I call BS. You do have time, right? It's just a matter of taking a moment to acknowledge for yourself, almost like really, Brielle, what you just did. Okay, I went onto TikTok. The intention was I'm going to create content for my own brand, my podcast, whatever it is. And an hour later, I realized, oh my God, I'm still on TikTok. And now later that evening, I'm thinking, I got nothing done today. I just had no time.
Right.
So I think that like step one in that scenario for me is always just acknowledge the behavior. I went on TikTok, I stayed on too long. Okay, I'm not perfect, right? None of us are.
Right.
From there, once you see, you can't unsee.
Mm-hmm.
So I know what I've done, right? Good, bad, or indifferent, right? How can I think about shifting that behavior to make for an improvement in my experience tomorrow, right? And so in this little example we have, it would just be a matter of, well, tomorrow, either I'm not going on TikTok, or when I do, to create content that I want to put out for my brand, I'm setting a timer.
Yeah.
Right? Super simple. It usually takes me 10 minutes, 15, whatever that is for you. Set the timer. When it goes off, you've probably been on long enough.
Yeah.
Put the phone away and come back to what is real in life, right? The child that's right there with you, your spouse that's right there with you, your friend that's right there with you, the book you've been wanting to read to increase your knowledge, or just away, right?
Yeah.
So I always, again, my style is very direct. It's like, I call BS. You do have time. We all have the same amount of time. We get to choose. We have the power to choose. How are we going to invest that time? Or how am I going to spend?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Invest versus spending the time. I love that. I'm writing that down. I love that. Invest time versus spending time. That's actually two totally different things. So and there you go, like right there, that's something that as moms, we can start today. I love that timer idea, because for me, I do really need an actual prompt to get me out of what I'm doing. And people don't realize how important that is. Like, oh, set a timer. I could just look at the clock and be like, oh, give myself 15 minutes. That doesn't do it.
So it sounds ridiculous to be like, I'm setting timers in my day, right? Yeah. But don't knock it till you try it. And also, I say, like, in this world of mental fitness, I love to use the analogy of this is physical fitness for our mind. Okay. So if we think about our body, our physical fitness, right? The simple example I'll use is you go into a gym and there's all this equipment in that gym. You have no idea if you're going to love free weights versus assisted weights better until you try them. Yeah. You know what I mean? You don't know if you're going to love the cardio class, or you're going to want to get on the treadmill and run on your own and get your cardio in that way. We're all very different in what might work for us, but until we flex our mental muscle, until we just try it, try setting a timer, because to your point, like we don't know until we do, until we take action and experience it. And we need the cue. We need the cue to pull us back into the moment and go, what was that? That's my timer that I'm done on TikTok. I need to come back to my present life. Or that's my timer that's literally just saying, just stop and do nothing. Or just breathe for 4 times in a row. You can keep it so simple. And I encourage people to do that, because this is not supposed to add stress. These are techniques that are meant to reduce stress in your day. Right. That's a good point. I think that so often people decide, okay, I want to do better. I want to have a better sense of well-being. And they take on all these different goals and tasks. And then that's when you end up just, I can't work on myself. This is too much. That's I have a journal that I publish that is that introduces one habit per week. Because if you've ever looked at those guided journals, you open the first page, like there's 2 pages, and it has all these activities for you to do, and you're like, well, how am I going to fit all this into my time, into my day? This is insane. I'm stressed out. Yeah. So it's funny you said that, because that's kind of the basis of my journal, is like, okay, first week we're just showing gratitude. Second week we're going to add in a little movement. Third, so anyway, not to plug my own journal. I mean, you could plug your own journal. My podcast. I think so. This makes me think about morning routines, right?
Yeah.
I like to think about this as in my own world, in my own words, my morning ritual, which is something a friend brought to my attention recently. And I thought, wow, again, the verbiage, how we shift our mind and how it is set comes down often to words that we're using.
Yeah.
And I think about my morning ritual, that feels so much more sacred,
Peaceful. Yeah.
right, than my routine. Because a routine in our world, I think as moms, right, I'll say that anyway. It's like, oh, my routine, I gotta change the diaper, I gotta feed the baby, I gotta get through this, I gotta go to that, I gotta drive, I gotta make dinner. There's nothing calm about that, right?
Right.
But recently I'm looking over here because she's the owner of this co-working space I'm sitting in. We were talking and she was like, you're so good at your morning routine. And I feel like I'm failing, like it's stressing me out. I can't get anything done. I have like 6 things I want to do, but then everybody wakes up and I'm stressed and I feel like a failure. I just looked at her and I was like, oh my gosh, wait a minute, hold on.
Yeah.
This is the complete opposite of how we want you to feel, how you want to feel when you go through whatever makes up your daily rituals. Right? It could be morning, afternoon, evening. It doesn't matter to me what time. So I was saying to her, like, listen, think about what's the best time for you to, one of her things was journaling, stretching, right? I believe maybe meditation was in there.
Maybe the morning's not her time to do that.
Right. I was like,
it doesn't have to be.
Get up at 4 and get all that stuff done. Like you'll be sleeping by noon.
Right.
So it's like, okay, let's make it work for you. Take these great concepts, these great practices that you want to implement and make them fit in your world. Instead of like, well, this person over here is just doing 6 things before 6 a.m. I got to do it that way. No, you don't.
Right.
Make it work for you.
Yeah. And it's funny because one of my other podcast guests, she's like a morning routine, but now I'll use the word morning ritual pro, right? So she has like a morning ritual program that she does with moms. And something that she said, and I think this would apply to what you were saying too, one client said to her, well, my kids wake up and then it's over. And she's like, well, it doesn't have to be. She's like, this doesn't work with all families, but maybe your child is at the age they can wake up and do some independent play. Like I know my son's 4 and he actually he doesn't want to be bothered in the morning. He comes out to the living room and he has his own morning ritual. It's hilarious, but he plays with like his certain toys. So just because he came out doesn't mean that I have to stop what I'm doing. And so maybe even looking at it that way, while he's playing with his toys, I could be stretching or I could be journaling, And so I thought that was awesome that she pointed it out. Now that doesn't always work. My toddler is very calm. I know some toddlers come out and start tearing up the whole place. And, you have to be like 100% on them. But just to that point, it can be flexible.
I think something I love reminding myself of, and then of course, as I'm coaching and speaking and interacting, right? None of this stuff is about doing it perfectly, because I will speak from my own experience. When I reflect back on my life, I was this person that was like, I have to chase this idea of perfection. That's what I was doing.
Yeah.
To know, end in happiness for myself. I was exhausted. I was stressed out. I was feeling less than. I was feeling like I didn't do good enough all the time. And thank God I started to do work on myself and, change that script, because really the only thing that matters is, have you made some kind of forward progress?
Right.
1% shift in doing better today than you did yesterday. Did you learn from something that didn't go great yesterday? Because that's life, right?
Right.
And how can you improve that tomorrow so that there's a better outcome? I think that's so important, because I don't know about you, but there's definitely still times in my life where I'm like, God, that was just not good enough. It's just never going to be good enough. And
talking before
we started, like, you gotta just start.
Right.
It's going to be good enough. You are
Right. What we were talking about before we started recording, like just start. I was sharing with Heather, and if you guys check out my story later, well, this will probably be up like 4 days from now, so you won't see it. But all my, like, let's be realistic. I probably won't get this edited and up tonight, but we'll see. My setup right now for this podcast, if someone came in and saw, I mean, I don't know, maybe they would just say, oh, that's cool that she's doing it. I don't know, but I have my son's like toy box. I have my laptop on top. I have a light on, like, I didn't even put it on a tripod. I have, it doesn't matter. It just has to be good enough. And I think that so often, I think this is a huge issue with moms. We think it needs to be perfect. And I actually learned that good enough thing when my husband and I, actually before we got married in October, we took a motorcycle class to get our motorcycle licenses in August. And for 2 days, you're learning, you're practicing. And I loved our instructors. They were great. And my husband and I are both perfectionists, and we're both trying to do every maneuver perfectly. And then the test came, and the instructor said, it just has to be good enough. If you put your foot down, it's okay. If, your bike stalls, it's okay. Now, you can't stall 50 times. You can't crash your bike, right? So you have to have, like you said, some forward progress. It just has to be good enough. And that light bulb moment went off for me while I was taking that course. Like it was just, and so now I try to apply that to other things in my life because it's so true. It's so true.
It takes a lot of the pressure off. And I
Yeah.
think that is important, because if we're living in this pressure cooker all the time,
Mm.
it's really hard for our brain to exit this state of stress, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's very important to create the space, create the time in our day as moms, right? As
Mhm.
humans on this
As humans, yeah.
just to intentionally create the space and time for you.
Yeah.
And it's going to look different probably day to day, especially if you have little kids running around and you're trying to manage different things in the household, or you have kids and you're working. Like there's so many moving parts, but we have the power to do that. And it is absolutely possible. And I think it's so powerful and impactful in our lives when we say, like, hey, this is something I'm going to do for me today, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can give and give, but at some point I'm going to run out of being able to give. I have to fill my tank up.
Yeah.
I have an out of office on right now on my business email and on my personal email. And the subject line is, have you plugged yourself in lately? And it's basically something I love talking about because it makes sense, right? Just think about your cell phone, any technology, but I'll go to the phone because
love that. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, God forbid that thing dies. What are we going to do? Like, there's no way we're letting that happen, right?
Right. You'll do anything to get a charger. There's been times I've been out and it's going to die and I'll buy a charger because I don't want to be on the car ride home. God forbid there's an emergency, like that. It's crazy.
You will do anything.
Yeah.
Charge, okay.
Yep.
But how often would we do anything to charge ourselves before our battery is unread, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, quite often we don't. And I think one of the benefits when I'm working with clients that they see is this concept of you need to plug yourself in. Like, let's get down to the basics, the foundation of your day to day. We all wake up with only so much time, energy, and attention. So if you are like, what is the statistic? It's like 90% of Americans are scrolling through their phone within the first 30 minutes. Yes. That's
a huge thing in my journal, is like, that's a goal. Then like week 3 is don't wake up and go right on your phone. But yeah, speak to that a little bit because there's a lot behind that.
Yeah. I mean, it's just this idea of like, again, are you investing your time, energy, and attention if the first thing you're doing is opening your eyeballs from a huge reset and recharge period of sleep and grabbing your phone and immediately pushing that stress level through the, right? Your body goes into that sympathetic state and you're not even out of bed yet. This is not going to help us maintain energy throughout the day, have any sense of clarity throughout the day. In fact, it's going to increase stress, increase anxiety, increase overwhelm, reduce energy levels, or increase fatigue, probably make us ineffective at making decisions because we're already depleted on energy.
Right.
So it's like, okay, let's shift that. Let's come up with a morning ritual as simple as we want it to be, something that works in our world, doesn't involve checking email, checking text, going onto the news, looking at social media within the first 30 minutes of waking up.
Right. Something that actually supports our brain, because I think I didn't realize this. And the more I did research, our brain, when we wake up, it goes through certain patterns. So different waves, alpha waves, delta waves. These are all different, I guess we could call them like chemical reactions that your brain goes through. And as you wake up, you go from that sleeping state to wakefulness, and then you're alert. And so if you disrupt that, your brain, it causes a ton of issues down the line in your day. And then if you think you do that every single day, that's what a lot of anxiety, depression, that being in fight or flight mode constantly is caused. And I'm not saying everything is caused by that, but if you're having a lot of anxiety, depression, you always feel like in that high alert, look at what you're doing first thing in the morning, and you don't even have to do a huge ritual. You can literally, like, the ritual could be, don't go on your phone. Just, that's it. Don't go on your phone. So
that would be a boundary, right? In my mind, I'm setting a healthy boundary with the first, 30 minutes of my day, I'm not touching my phone.
Right.
And from, again, my own personal experience, for me to rewire my own behavior around that, I actually had to spend a good 6, almost 7 months without my phone in my bedroom and going back to a old school alarm clock. Which
Mel Robbins talks about that.
Okay. Oh, wait a minute, hold on. I can set the time. I push this button. Like, it was like literally rewiring my brain neuroplasticity around this alarm clock I hadn't used since I was like, I don't know, 11 or something.
Right.
But you said something that made me think of this, which is, if you want different results, life in your day, in that hour, you have to do something differently. Different
actions. Yeah. Yes.
And I think a lot of times we don't even know what that is, right? Like, what I was going to say is, okay, for me, before I even open my eyes, I'm just super, super simple practicing gratitude by saying one thing in my mind to myself.
Okay. Gotcha.
I'm grateful for this brand new day. I mean, that is it. It's that quick.
Right.
So I'm flexing that muscle before I move, before I step out of bed, before I do anything else in the morning. It's really, really simple practices, right? Can lead us down a wonderful, beautiful, much more calm path in our life.
Yeah, no, that's great. And something that we keep saying, and I would like to define it because it's really what the basis of what you do is mental fitness. What exactly is mental fitness?
So mental fitness, the best way to describe this, I think, is to, again, compare to physical fitness. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So there's some similarities and some differences, but if you actually look at the definition of physical fitness, I think it's Merriam-Webster or one of the dictionaries out there. One's ability to execute daily activities with optimal performance, endurance, and strength. Okay. So I literally am going to just repurpose that definition around mental fitness, or how our mind is set, right? One's ability to execute daily activities with optimal performance, endurance,
Mm,
Fatigue, mental energy,
mhm,
and strength, resilience,
mm,
strong mindset, right? Looking for progress, not perfection.
mhm.
So mental fitness is proactive, or I should say it requires proactive training.
Okay, I love that. Yeah, that makes sense. It's not just something, just like physical fitness, it's not just something that comes. You have to do it.
Yes, right. So a couple of things. Let me start with this. Let's use the physical fitness again, and we'll use the analogy to come back to mental fitness.
Mhm.
So with our body, okay, let's say, I want to build a six-pack, whatever that goal is, okay? I want to lose some weight. I want my waistline to be smaller. I want big muscles in my arms. You name it, whatever it is you want, okay? You got to do something to get it. You have to take an action, right? Typically a repeated, consistent practice or action.
Mm.
Let's call it training, okay?
Yeah.
So if I want to build abs, I'm going to, hypothetically, I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to start to do planks. I'm going to do sit-ups. I'm going to do all kinds of ab workouts. I'm going to work other parts of my body to strengthen my core. Maybe I do Pilates and yoga. I stretch, whatever, right? But there's some string of habits that you build, some consistent action you take to build that six-pack of abs. And the benefit with physical fitness is you might get on a scale and go, the number, I see it, right? Oh my God, one of my six-pack, I got a one-pack. I'm making, I see it, right?
Right.
My pants don't fit the same. Ooh, I see change. That's the cue. That's the reinforcement. And so then we say, this doesn't suck so bad anymore. I'm going to go back to the gym again because now I'm seeing progress. I feel so good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mental fitness, I do this. It's those mental reps, right? It's that consistent, proactive action that we take to bring ourselves proactively out of the sympathetic fight, flight, freeze state,
right,
down into the parasympathetic state of calm, healing, restfulness, more peace, right? That would be a mental rep. It's the idea of, I caught myself thinking I'm never going to be good enough. So I acknowledged the behavior and I reframed it in a different way to support my growth, to make me feel good enough, right? I say instead, I am good enough. I know my worth, right? This concept of reframing, that's a mental rep. It takes an investment on your behalf, on my behalf, to make for positive change, just like it would if we wanted to make for positive physical change or spiritual change, any part of our being, right? But you don't, unless you're going to get into like a fMRI machine, you're not going to see the neural pathways of your brain being broken, those negative behaviors or habits, and then reforming. You can Google it. There's some super videos,
well, it's cool too that it's not just this like ooey wooey stuff of like, oh yeah, if you think positive, great things will happen. No, there's connections that change in your brain that actually
100%. No, you're just making me think of a great example, right? And it seems, again, so simple and ridiculous, but thoughts create physiological reactions or responses in our body.
Right.
Thoughts become things in one way or another that is backed by science. And the simple example that I use in a lot of workshops is this exercise where I walk people through, you close your eyes and we're going to visualize. And the visualization is around this idea of this juicy, yellow, ripe lemon in your kitchen, and you grab your favorite knife to cut it. You have the cutting board and you get that knife through and you can see the juice coming out and it's kind of wet on your hand and it's dripping. And then you take a piece and you put it in your mouth, and what do you know? No one's putting a lemon in their mouth. They're thinking about it, but everybody's salivating. So again, how we talk to ourselves in our mind, how we think is a huge part of how our mind is set.
Mm-hmm.
But guess what? It doesn't have to be that way. It is never too late. This is funny. It is never too late to begin again. I was working on some Mindset Monday, like little quick tips, and that's one I wrote down before we started.
Yeah.
It's never too late to begin
Mm-hmm.
again, to reset in your day,
Right.
to start over,
Mm-hmm.
to learn something new, or to do something differently. Is it
Yeah,
gonna
just keep moving forward. Yeah. Yeah.
But it's absolutely possible.
Right. And I think, like, as we've been talking, in my mind, I'm visualizing like this type of pattern, right? Because this is what happens. It's not like you start that habit and you're just like, whoop, okay, you know, perfection. It's down, it's up. But as long as that slant is overall going up, then you're making some progress. And there might be days that you get all the way to here and then you're back down, but you just have to work your way back up. So I've just been like visualizing that as we're talking, because that's the reality. And I think as moms, we have to give ourselves grace that that is our reality. You know, we have so many other things floating around our head, and it's so important to know that not every day is just going to be like to your goal. You're going to be all over the place.
This is not about like toxic positivity. This is not about like rainbows and butterflies. Woo! Everything's perfect every day. Like, are you serious? No, I'm not even trying to play in that world. That's not real. This is about, I'm just doing my best day in and day out. I am competing with myself.
Yeah.
I'm looking to others to inspire me, to show me what is possible, because maybe I don't believe it yet, right? So I'm looking to others to give me inspiration, but I know inside me, I can do better.
Right.
So how am I going to do that tomorrow? What is the practice that I can put in place? What is the action I can take to start to improve how my mind is set? Because I believe that that is where it begins. And we're not there right now, but this just made me think of when I was preparing to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. We would have calls with our like with our lead, right? And the rest of the people climbing, and they would have guest speakers. And I wanted at least 2, there might have been 3 guests they brought into these calls that said the exact same thing, which was, and the statistics from each person were a little bit different, but it was anywhere from 85 to 92% that was quoted. So let's say 85% of your success in climbing this mountain will be mindset, fitness. And having experienced it, they were absolutely correct.
Yeah.
So again, just in my experience, I'm so passionate about how we think. You know, are we feeding our mind healthy things, or are we feeding it junk food that now we have to go in and do more work to undo that, right?
Right.
More often than not, right? Are we doing that more often than not?
Right.
Every minute.
No, perfect. Right.
There's a great example on YouTube. I don't know if you've seen this, but your audience might enjoy it if they haven't. It's like neuroplasticity in real form. I won't get this right, but it's the backward bicycle. And it's this man named Destin. He talks about how he learned to ride a bike when he was 6 years old, around that age. And when he was around 31, I think he works in like an engineering firm or something like that. And the guys that he works with decided that they would take a bicycle and make it backwards. So if you turn the handlebars right, the bike goes left.
Oh.
The handlebars left, the bike goes right, right? Not the pattern we know once we learn how to ride a regular bike.
Right.
So they create this backward bicycle, and they basically say to him, like, go ahead, you try to do this. And he's like, I can obviously do this. It's fine. And he gets on the bike and falls off immediately. Like he's like, oh my God, what's happening? Which way are we going? This isn't what I know. This isn't how my pathway is set for riding a bike, right? And so it takes him 5 minutes of practice for 8 months before he can ride that backwards bicycle without falling off.
Wow. I'm gonna have to look that up. I'll link that in the show, in the notes.
It's so good. It's so good. Yeah.
Wow. I'm writing, and I've been taking a few notes because there's just so many amazing like snippets I feel that we've talked about and that you've said. So I've been writing stuff down so I can put it in the notes. So that's I'm like shocked by that because I'm thinking about it myself and I'm thinking like, okay, I feel like I could do that. But like bicycling is something that a lot of us learn when we're little, and it's such a muscle memory thing. Like you could learn when you're young, not get on a bike again until you're 60 years old and probably ride it perfectly. So that just shows the power of the brain. And when you have such a connection that's set, how much it takes to change that. So if we apply that to motherhood and just think about all the things that we've told ourselves that we're not good enough and, we're not doing good enough for our kids and all that negative junk that we think about as moms, we compare ourselves to other moms, which I have a tangent on that in a minute, but, how long and how much practice, how much mental fitness does it take to back out of that? And the answer is a lot, but like you said, if you're just doing a little bit each day, you'll progress.
I think, like I was saying earlier, will it take work? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Are you worth that work? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And like anything else that's new in our life, right? A new behavior, a new skill. I'll use the example of myself. I was like, okay, I'm going to try to learn something new every month, like do something differently, right? Because
cool. Yeah.
Right. I want to see like in action, how does this work? So one of the things I played with was brushing my teeth with my left hand. Okay.
Who talks about that all the time? Quick. What's his name? Is his name Jim Quick? I think so.
It could be James Clear. There's like,
yeah, I love that. That's great. Okay.
So it actually, you know what? It did come out of a book. It might have been Atomic Habits. I'm not going to get it right now, but anyway, I was like, okay, interesting. Like, let me see how this goes, right? Sounds easy enough.
Yeah.
No, I literally had toothpaste all over my face. I was dripping like foam down my chin, hitting my gums the wrong way. Like everything's not right, even though it sounds like, well, duh, of course that's super easy. It's just brushing your teeth. No, it's actually not, because my brain is, we're done here. And so it took me a good month before it became easier and more natural. But the thing is, that's what happens, right? You've got to start somewhere, start with something, and then consistency. Continue to flex that muscle, because it is going to take some time and it is going to take some work. But guess what? It's going to get easier the more you practice it.
Right.
The more you do it. Until like a decade ago, it was thought that our brains were not capable of changing, like neuroplasticity didn't exist after age 25, which is clearly not true at all.
No, not at all. Thank God, because imagine being in that fixed mindset, which I feel like I was there, until I started doing research about all of this, and it's like, oh wow, I can really change and feel better.
Yeah, it's empowering. We have the power to make that change.
Right. I want to hear about Mount Kilimanjaro, and I'm sure other people want to as well. I just think that is the coolest, raddest thing. I want to hear how it came about. Tell us, about climbing it, what that was like.
Yeah. So when I share this with people, they assume I have done other large peaks and adventures like this. And this was my first. I love the outdoors. I love adventure. I will try almost anything that pushes my body or mind, but this was a new level for me. So what happened was this will show you who I am really as a person. My son brought home a library book from school. This was in late 2019, actually. And it was about the 7 summits. And one of those is Kilimanjaro. So we're reading this book before bed. And we get to the Kilimanjaro section and like something is in my brain is like, ding, ding, ding. Like you've seen this, there's something about this that's familiar, but I could not place it. So I put the kids to bed and then I went to my computer and I found in my search history, at some point before that evening, I had looked at the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society's Climb to Cure page. So I end up back on that page that same night. And I see this opportunity to summit Kilimanjaro amongst all these other adventures. And I emailed the contact name that was there that night. And I said, hi, my name is Heather, and I'm going to climb Kilimanjaro with you next fall. Please let me know what I need to do.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I'm sorry to pause. Let me pause real quick because I just want to like put in a little snippet that to relate that to mom mindset is that when you come up with an idea, just do it, because your brain is wired then to say, oh, what could go wrong? So that's amazing. You were like, I'm going to do this. And if you wouldn't have sent that email right then and there, you might have talked yourself out of it the next day. So that's really cool.
Absolutely. I sat there for a moment. I can literally picture it's the same setup in my kitchen. It's a very small desk in my kitchen. My calendar, like whiteboard calendar, is here. And then my laptop and just like the wall with some pictures.
Yeah.
I sat there and I was like looking kind of into the blank space between everything, into the wall. I closed my eyes and I remember thinking, I can so clearly feel and see the summit of this mountain. Like, I don't need to know anything else. I am diving in. I'm all in here. Like, done. Sent the email.
Wow.
Like a week later, I'm telling my girlfriend, so, hey, I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to climb this mountain. And she says to me, where is that? And I literally stopped and I went, I'm really not sure. I know it's in Africa. Like, I didn't even know I was going to Tanzania. I just was like, yep, I'm in.
I love that. I love that. Oh my God.
So, yeah, I mean, it was a crazy experience. It was training, preparation was all during COVID. Like, this was 2019, so early 2020, COVID.
Right.
The world is crazy. I was supposed to go on 3 different occasions, and for various reasons, the dates kept getting changed.
Oh, and that's hard to stick to it when that happens.
It was, I have to say, I have never felt so guided.
Okay.
I just really believed in the process, whatever that was going to look like for me.
Okay. Yeah, you were committed.
I was yeah. Trust in the people around me, my support group, and just my spiritual kind of guides, my space of me. So it ended up where we were able to go February of 2021, and it absolutely changed me forever. It again reinforced this belief that I have that we are all capable of way more than we can even imagine. We don't know what we're capable of until we're put in the situation, until we push our own limits.
You put yourself into it. Yeah.
Yeah.
How many days did it take?
So it's a 6-day ascent. Well, like 6 days up and then 2 days.
Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. I didn't realize it was that many days. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, you have to acclimatize to the altitude, so hence the 6 days up, 2 days down.
Okay.
You summit the route we summited overnight, because by sunrise you're supposed to be at or very near the summit, so it's like it's absolutely beautiful.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Oh
gosh, so you had to kind of change your sleep schedule then, because you're hiking when you would normally be sleeping. But I'm sure the adrenaline kicked in up there.
Every day except the summit night, you're hiking during the day. So it's a very talk about consistency. I mean, for a reason, there are full rituals that are observed and practiced every single day that you're on that mountain.
Wow.
And again, looking back, even then I was journaling and I kept a blog, and it didn't click that there is a reason for this consistency, for these rituals, because honestly, like a morning routine, right? Morning ritual. When we have that, we at least feel in control.
Right.
And that automatically reduces some level of stress in our body, right? It begins to build habits, right? And habits, once they're built, take much less mental spend than something we're doing for the first time.
Right.
So they were getting us ready in their own way, you know, mentally fit, if you will,
Right.
what was coming on the summit night.
Gotcha.
And I have never experienced something like that. I may or may not, again, I don't know where life will take me, but we summited, like I came out of the tent, we're at over 15,000 feet at base camp. And below me, I can see lightning, I can hear thunder, but I am standing in a blizzard. It is a blizzard, and it is below zero, wind is whipping, like it's cold and it's confusing because you're like, wait a minute.
Right.
Yes, we're doing this thing, like.
Right. Oh my gosh.
And you just have a headlamp. So we just start going up, going up, going up. Parts of it are clear as day and parts of it are like a dream from the altitude.
Right.
But I have never experienced something like that from the perspective of realizing what I'm capable of, what we are capable of as humans, compassion that comes in that setting from your teammates,
teamwork,
you know, and feeling like these are my own words, but I have never felt so close to heaven as I did when I stood on that summit.
Wow.
It was really unbelievable.
That's amazing. That I dream of doing something like that one day. And I love that you just were like, I'm doing it, and you did it. And
you know, my kids were, I don't know, 6 and 7, 7 and 8, you know, at that point. And I was away for 2 weeks, and it took a village. I needed help. I needed support so I could do this, right? And I had people saying to me like, what about the kids? Like, so selfish that you would do this. And I just remember thinking, okay, mom, like that's in my mind, like I've been there. I might have those thoughts about somebody else, right?
Right.
But I guess I'm saying this just to remind your listeners, the moms out there, that like you matter too. Dreams and goals in life, like, yes, they may shift. Yes, the timing may change, but you absolutely do not have to just completely discount all of those things that you've been wanting and put everything else first all of the time, because it is not sustainable. That is not, in my experience, that is not healthy.
Yeah, I was going to say it's not healthy. And there's other people like, yes, maybe you needed 10 people to do what you did every day for 2 weeks as a mom, but you found the 10 people, you know, there's other people who can help. And then imagine what a better mother you are for having that experience and being able to even just being able to share with them that you did that and show them pictures and show them your journey when they're older and understand. Like, how cool is that too, to be like, yeah, my mom summited Mount Kilimanjaro. Like, that's incredible.
That's like a huge piece of this for me, quite honestly.
Yeah.
They're so proud. I am so proud of them for being resilient while mom was away for 2 weeks, right? Like rolling with the punches, understanding it's going to be a little different, but we're going to make it work. And knowing, because they have seen it, right, in me and their mom, knowing, oh, damn, I can do hard things too. I can make situations work too. I can do these things in my life too, right? We need role models in life. And I think that that's really important, is like our kids are soaking up everything we're doing.
Yes.
We say things we're doing, body language, movement, all of it. They are reading that all day, every day. And sometimes it's like, and I have to remind myself this, like, put down the goddamn phone.
Oh my gosh. As you were saying that, I was literally thinking that, because, you know, my son will be sitting there and it's almost like a magnet with his eyes. It's like, and he sees my phone and then he points and points and points to it. And I'm like, why does he always want that thing? Oh, because I always have it, it's like,
Right? We're all guilty of it.
yeah. So yeah, that is, oh my gosh, that has helped me so much to be like, okay, let me try to put this down, especially like when we're waiting for just a speech therapy appointment. Sometimes I'll have them on my lap, I'll be doing something on my phone, and I'm like, wow, let's take this time. Here's time where I'm like, oh, I don't feel like I have enough, time with my son, like special time. Just that little bit, that 10 minutes while we're waiting for the speech therapy, instead of being on email or social media or whatever, I could sit with him, we could play a little, game together while he's on my lap. And he sees that I'm doing that and not on the phone. No wonder why he's always going to it. So
yeah, it's progress, not perfection, acknowledging the things we're doing and asking ourselves, how could I do this differently? How
right.
could I improve this behavior? How could I do this better? Right? Better, whatever that
Yeah.
means.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, I think those are the questions that are so important to ask ourselves. And to do that, we need to create like you time, like time for you to be able to just slow down for a moment. And that doesn't have to look like 6 things before 6 a.m.
Right.
or bath with bubbles every night in silence. Like those things probably aren't realistic in our day-to-day as moms, but there are little ways that we can create that space for ourselves. Even like just like breath work, which to some they're like, oh no, that's too much, right? But when I say breath work, like I'm talking when I microwave, right? I'm guilty. I use the microwave to reheat stuff all the time, right?
Yep.
When I'm waiting for the microwave to time itself down, people will catch me sometimes in this co-working space. I'll be standing there facing it like I'm looking at it, but actually my eyes are closed. And all I'm doing is just noticing my own breath for the 2 minutes that the microwave is going.
I love that. It's a prompt for you. Yeah. Yep. What are you going to do? You're not going to walk back to your desk and then go back and blah, blah, blah. So that's a really good like prompt to say, let me just breathe. And I know I had like a negative thought about breath work a while ago. I was like, oh, but just learning actually from one of my other podcast guests, Dr. Kessler, when she was on, we don't breathe properly. So just like thinking about breathing and taking those deep breaths, that's going to actually help your brain function better because you're getting, the oxygen that you need. When we're all tensed up all the time, we're taking those like real shallow breaths. And yeah, so just think about breathing, using your diaphragm is so important. And then just a quick tangent, I took this like breath work. It was over Zoom. It was during COVID. I took this breath work hour-long session where I forget what the breathing is called, but it was really intense. But let me tell you, I felt like I had taken you you have like a high from it afterwards. It's incredible. And I don't know enough about it to speak to it, but it's incredible what breathing properly and really focusing on breathing can do for your brain, your neurotransmitters, getting that influx probably of serotonin and dopamine and
You don't even need to go into like for purposes of this, right? You don't even need to go into the chemistry, the neuroscience, like all of that.
Do it. Yeah.
The only thing you need to know is what you just said. I tried class, right? I tried this thing. It felt really good.
Yeah.
And I want more of it because it felt really good, right? So let's just call it like, let's keep it simple. That's enough to reinforce that kind of a behavior. I think about like, when I think about meditation, I was the person that was like,
same.
Sitting around doing, whoa, like this is ridiculous. All these thoughts are coming in my head. This is dumb, right?
Right.
Until I said, okay, I'll start slow. I'll start with 3 minutes on the timer. Along the way, like years into me trying it and hating it, feeling like I was failing, which you actually can't fail at meditation.
Right. Yeah.
You can't do it wrong, right? Somebody said to me, hey, think about all those thoughts coming in. That's normal. Like be grateful that you have a thinking mind, right? That's going to happen. But then just imagine them flying out of your mind like butterflies. Just let them go and come back to the breath. And when they come in again, let them go again.
Mhm.
That is mental resilience. Think about resilience. I fell down, but I got back up.
Right.
I went down, I pulled myself back out of that time. Same idea with this concept of meditation.
Mhm.
The more you practice refocusing, right? The more you're building that idea of mental resilience, that bounce back to, I was all over the place, but I'm pulling myself right back to this moment, to my breath. That's my anchor. I've just recently started creating guided meditations through.
Oh, cool.
So I'm going to be doing more of those in the new year. And I call all of them, I say, welcome to you time, because
Yeah.
you need some time for you.
Yeah.
If it's a guided meditation that helps you to stay in that moment, perfect. If it's breath work at the microwave for 2 minutes.
Yeah. Then it's, yeah. It's, you have to fit it in when you can. Another thing that I wanted to discuss that ties into what we were just talking about with meditation and all the influx of everything coming in, and you had commented on one of my social media posts about it, is brain dumping.
Yes.
And I think it all ties together. So I would love, and then just to frame it for the audience, I wanted to discuss that a little bit. And then we were just going to discuss a couple things that, action steps that people can take right away. And that, that'll kind of that's not the word I'm looking for. Wrap it up for the day. Yeah, wrap it up. Yeah. So brain dumping, which I only discovered a couple of years ago. Maybe I was doing it, but didn't realize I was doing it when I'd write like these crazy lists. But like, what is it? How can you make it like more effective? Because sometimes I feel like I'll brain dump and I'll write it all down. And then I'm like, well, now what? Now what do I do with it?
Yeah. So brain dump, I love the term because it's so simple and just like, like, oh, I kind of get where we're going with this, right?
Right.
This is something that I use a lot before bed. I use all the time before meetings. And I actually have workshop participants go through a brain dump exercise before I start the workshop.
Oh, okay.
It all comes back in my world to the practice, the skill of presence. Okay. Mm-hmm. So if our mind, let's say I'm coming in to meet with you today, Brielle, for this podcast. And before I come in, my mind is going left, right, center, up, down, and everything in between, because there's a lot of things spinning around, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe it's a deadline. Maybe it's a project. Maybe it's a meditation I'm working on. Maybe it's my kids. Maybe it's a doctor's appointment. Who knows, right?
Everything. Yeah, everything. Yeah, literally.
So if all of that is in my brain and my energetic field, right? Mm-hmm. And I come into, in this case, our meeting, I am most likely going to do a really terrible job at actually being present here. Right now, right? Because my head is somewhere else.
Right.
So it might look like I'm here, but no, I'm not.
Yeah, you're physically here, but yeah, you're somewhere.
Yes. So I will literally grab a piece of paper and whatever I can. Sometimes it's the notes section of my phone, whatever works, right? Make it work for you. And I will just literally list out anything in my brain: to-do items, get dinner, make the thing, call the doctor, finish the project, create the meditation, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And that is effective, right? Because we're taking action proactively. We're putting what we need right here. Mm-hmm. And then we're pushing it to the side, but our brain knows it's right there. So I can pick it up when we close this podcast. I can go back to all the things if I really want to. Mm-hmm. And so let me keep going with this, because then you said, okay, so I make this list. Now what do I do with it? Right.
Right.
So let's say we wrap up. I go back to my list. Typically what I'm doing at that point is I'm sort of reassessing. Mm-hmm. What did I even dump onto this page? Right. Because some of it, so 3 Ds. Okay. Delegate, delay, or delete.
Okay.
Yeah. Some of the things I dumped out of my brain, honestly, I probably don't need to do today.
Yeah.
A lot of times I don't need to do them today. There's not an urgency around them. It's just, I don't want to forget. right? So those things I would delay.
Okay.
Say, oh, let me move that to tomorrow because tomorrow I have some time to take care of that thing, right? There could be something on my list if it's like I don't know, something that I have a virtual assistant helping me with or whatever it is, right? Or maybe it's my partner that I'm like, hey, Paul, can you help me with this thing? Can you pick up the kids after practice tonight so that I have that every time I'm not rushing, right? So in that case, I'm now delegating. I'm asking myself, is there anything on this list I could get some help with, please?
Right. Can somebody else do it? Yeah. Right.
That's okay. We're allowed to ask for help, right? That feels good. And then the last thing I might ask myself is, what is on this list that literally I can just delete and cross off and forget completely to open that space up in my mind? Because not every day, but there are some days where I'll realize I have carried this thing over on my brain dump list for, I don't know, 5 days now.
Yeah.
Probably not actually that important. So not happening, delete. So delay, delete, delegate, ask yourself those questions to kind of reassess what you dumped out of your mind and its level of importance or how you're going to prioritize it. And then whatever remains, build a plan to tackle those things, right? Eat the frog, do the hardest thing first.
Yeah.
That's my mornings. I'm trying to do that stuff early so it's done.
Wow. That makes sense.
But yeah, I think it's interesting when I ask or invite people to go through this before a workshop. There's certain things I will invite them to do around technology, this brain dump exercise, and then some breath work with me. And all of these things are intentional so that we can be intentional with our attention for the time here. It changes.
Attention, yeah. That is when you said attention, and you've said that a couple times, and that always sticks out to me because I say this to my mom all the time because she'll be like, oh, I know you had a busy day. And I'm like, Mom, it's not even that it was that busy. It was that I have no more mental capacity to do what I need to do. And so by, 4 or 5 o'clock, there's not that many hours in the day because we go to bed pretty early as a family because we're up kind of early. But let's say, by 5 o'clock, there's still 3 hours maybe in the day, or maybe 2 hours because you want to relax maybe your last hour, half hour. But there's still time that I feel could be productive, but that mental load doesn't allow me to do that. So I'm wondering if using some of these, the brain dumping, using little prompts, like I said, there's maybe if I hadn't spent a half an hour on TikTok earlier in that day, I would have been able to do some of those things that now my mental load won't allow me to do at 4 or 5 o'clock. So, maybe using that.
I would come back to just to kind of cover everything you're saying.
Yeah.
I would come back to this concept of, have you plugged yourself in lately?
Yeah.
Right. Because when we don't proactively do that throughout the day, right? Not every few days,
right?
Throughout the day.
logically what's happening is our time, our energy, and our attention are slowly depleting. That's just natural, right? So during your day, maybe it is that you set an alarm 3 times in the day to just to cue yourself, because we need those cues often, especially when we're looking to change behaviors, just to remind yourself, breathe, right? We're doing it, but we're not really even noticing it.
Right.
That could be one really simple way that you plug yourself in, right? It could be a reminder of get outside. Whether that's, I'm going to go out with my kids and build a snowman, because now we're in that season here, or I will go by myself and take a 10-minute walk around the block if I can, or I'll bundle everybody up and we'll take a walk and we'll just kind of play, but at least we're outside, right?
My plan for later.
So I guess, again, building that time in, space for you in the day and making it work. around everything else that's happening, because that's life, right?
Right.
We are worth that time. We are worth making things work. Scheduling time for ourselves. Right. I think about this a lot when I'm working. There's a lot of meetings and I'm like, wow, I'm real quick to be at all these meetings, but there's days I'm real quick to cancel the time I put aside from me.
Right.
So again, just shifting how you think about time.
Yeah, blocking it in. And sometimes it's physically blocking it in, like blocking it off on your calendar that that's time, even if it's time that you're doing work, but you know, you block that off so that people can't schedule meetings during that time, because that's the time that you're actually going to do some of the things that you talk about in the meetings that now you need to implement. And if you don't schedule off that time, you know, it's then you get stressed and it's that vicious cycle. So
don't cancel meetings with yourself.
Right.
You're the one keeping things spinning here.
Right.
Especially oftentimes when it comes to your family. So I guess, you know, again, plug yourself in ways that work for you to throughout the day slowly just give yourself a little boost so that you are increasing the probability of a little more energy, a little more mental space come 4 or 5 o'clock, whatever time it is for you that you're like, I am done. I got nothing. Right. Again, coming back to this idea of like making it work for you. In the morning, you don't have to have a 6-step routine that starts at 4 a.m. Like that's really not realistic for most moms.
For most people, yeah, especially for moms. Like and that was kind of my whole point in, this is like the whole point of a clinical approach to momming. I saw all this mindset stuff, right, for entrepreneurs and, you know, oh yeah, I get up at 3:30 a.m. and I run 2 miles and I this and that and whatever. And that's all great, but that's not realistic for moms. But we can apply some of those things and you know, eventually feel better and do it. So it's so much geared towards I feel like entrepreneurs for that and not so much for moms. And we need it more.
I totally agree with you. I'm laughing so hard because I recently put together, I know a few months back, a workshop around winning your day. So like reducing burnout, eliminating burnout. And when I was doing some research, everything I was finding was like, here's a routine, get up at 4, do this, do that, blah, blah, all these things. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm tired just reading this.
I'd be exhausted by like at 8 a.m. I'll be ready to go back for a nap. And then you can't because you have mom stuff to do. So
yes.
Oh my goodness. So I want to just kind of summarize and wrap up with a few action items, which I feel like we've talked about a few throughout the time. So I'll summarize that we talked about the concept that you came up with, which is great, is plugging yourself in and doing that throughout the day. Brain dumping we discussed, which is great. I feel like you can literally start that right now. You can start all these right now using prompts. So our example was if you're, you know, on social media or whatever, using an alarm to say, okay, I'm done doing this. I mean, you could do that for so many different things. If you need to like tidy up the house, but you want to spend time, okay, I'll spend 5 minutes doing a quick tidy, put on the timer. And when the timer goes off, that's it. Now you're on to your next task. Is there anything else we want to add to that, that you know, have to share?
Yeah, I think just remembering that you can't do this wrong. Like everything can be improved, everything can be put back together, everything can be fixed, right? You can't do it wrong. So throw out the concept of it has to be perfect. I have to do this perfect. I have to have 5 things every day before 5 a.m. with all my kids in bed like angels. Like, right? Like let's just throw that out the window and let's start from where we are as moms with multiple priorities that we're trying to work, and I don't even want to say balance, right? Manage each day, and be kind to yourself and realize this is a work in progress. This is about making positive progress. This is never going to be about perfection.
Right.
You know, the idea of mental fitness that's an ongoing journey, right? I know I'm not going to wake up one day and go, well, I'm perfectly mentally fit. I'm good to go. I don't ever need to do my things again, right? I don't ever plug myself in again. I'll never meditate again. I did it enough.
I'm good. Yeah.
That's not what this is about. This is about investing in you, remembering you matter, remembering you have to give to yourself as well, so that you can show up for all these people that you love and support around you.
Right.
And I would also just say, like, put down the damn phone. And also, more importantly, I had to throw that one in.
Yes.
Trust and know and believe you are capable of more than you can imagine. Just do something today that moves you forward. I don't care if it's 1% movement. That is progress.
Right.
Just do that. Acknowledge behaviors. We have behaviors that have been built, habits in our life that are good. Some are not so good, but they're happening without us realizing it because they're habits.
That's huge. Yeah, that's huge to acknowledge it. Just say it. Yeah, I did it. What can I do to move forward or change it? Or, hey, this is a good habit that I'm doing. Let me do more of this. I think we don't do that enough too.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh my God. Celebrating your progress, celebrating your wins. That is huge. We are wired for negativity. Okay. So believe me, we all know this, especially as moms. We're going to find the one thing that was kind of not good, and we're going to like blow that thing up
on it.
On fire that ever existed. What we need to do more of, right? What I would invite everybody to do more of is call out the good.
Right.
Call out that, you know what? Today I got my top priority thing checked off. Everyone is healthy. Everyone is fed, and everyone is tucked in.
Yeah.
That is something to celebrate and be grateful for, right? Lean into the good, find the good, and it will start to grow and appreciate.
Great. Oh my goodness. So many good little nuggets throughout. I mean, this whole conversation, I think, will be so beneficial to moms.
Talk about like for 2 more hours.
I know. I was going to say, I just want to know more. I mean, everything I could talk about for 2 more hours. I still want to learn more about Kilimanjaro. Like, I want to know what you ate on the way. Like, really just like random stuff. I want to know more about. Well, I will have to have you on again, because this was, oh my goodness, this is just such a treat, I think, for all of my listeners and all of us moms who are going through it, whatever it is, we're all going through it. And just to have, a couple little things that we can start each day with, or start doing each day, that can improve how we feel about ourselves, how we feel about being a mom, is so valuable. And you brought so many things, like there's so many things here. So I'm going to, I will link all of Heather's socials and her website and everything in the description on, the podcast platforms and on YouTube and everything. And then I will also just put in the show notes some of these strategies, just in writing too, for some people who want to just jump down and get into it and kind of see what we talked about. But yeah, thank you so much. Where, I think I just want to, I'll say it too, but I'll put in the show notes, heathersweeney.com, right?
Yes.
Is where we find you. Okay. And everything's linked there.
heathersweeney.com, and then any social, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, it's all at the Heather Sweeney.
Oh, perfect. That's so easy. That's good. So please visit. She runs workshops, really great things for us moms and mompreneurs and everybody to look into. So thank you so much. I feel like we could keep on talking and talking, but I know we have other commitments.
No, I appreciate you having me on very much. Thank you so much, Riel. And
My
thanks to
pleasure.
your audience. I hope that, there's even one thing that
Yeah.
they
Oh, I'm
can pull out and start to use to improve your outcomes day to day.
Thank you. We are excited to start. So I will talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks.
All
Have a good
right.
one.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.